After building several boats, and I'd swore off I wasn't going back to sea at all, you know, even though I went back and ran the Beaver for 10 years. I did build this one boat. She was a nice little boat, and we were anchored in at Pirates Cove. And my father-in-law was a very observant man, sailor all his life. After we'd had supper, we just said they're having a smoke, and I said, "What's that?" And we looked over, and there was just a little V in the water. Just as the sun was going down, the sunlight was disappearing. You could see this, but you really couldn't see what was causing it, other than it looked like a little stick sticking up there, you know. So anyway, we had the little boat there, so my son, youngest son, and I got into it, and we rowed to find out what it was. And here we seen this little creature was swimming along with his head and neck stuck out of the water and looking around. And what really got me was that when he turned his head, he had round little eyes looking at you, you know. "Hey, who are you guys?" No, really, he wasn't really frightened, but he was small. So anyway, we had the kids been playing around, so the little kids' landing net in the boat. So I took it and put it in the water beside us, and I had Jerry bring in that oar, and we just slid up past him, and I dipped underneath him and picked him up. And then what do you do with him? Well, we had a bucket in the boat, so we put that in the bucket just to see what he was. So when we got back, by this time it was almost too dark to see, you know, the dusk had crept in. So we got back alongside and I passed the bucket up, and then we got the lights on the deck and had a look at this little guy, and it was quite amazing. He wasn't very big. Oh, I don't think he was 1.5 feet long, possibly about this long, and a little thicker than my thumb, I would think, you know. But he wasn't a serpent, like he wasn't a snake. He wasn't doing this. He was sort of going along this way, and there. Sort of, but mostly there were just little waves away from his neck and where his spine was there, you know. And anyway, he sort of looked us all over there, and so we were wondering just what we're going to do with him. And I could tell that he had little claws on his fins because we were trying to get at the side of the plastic bucket to get out. Yeah. They were scraping. And then I could put the little stick that I had under his tail. I could see that the tail was actually like 2 fins crossed over, you know, so that they looked something like a sperm whale's tail, spade shape, but they were actually 2, so they were something like a seal or an otter has, you see. And anyway, we had him there for a while. What we got to do, and I thought, well, Dr. Big was working out of the biological station in those days, in Nanaimo of Departure Bay, and I used to get him specimens from things. So I thought, we'd better take it up to him in the morning. And so the locale that we're in Pirates Cove, you have to go around the islands to get out of it. So you had to go around and go up through Dodge Narrows to get up, or go around the other side of Gabriola to get up to Departure Bay. So I thought we could wait for morning. So anyway, we sent the kids to bed, and Pa and I had a coffee and a smoke. We sort of tried to bed down, but I could hear this guy in this little bucket. If I'd only thought to put something in there to hold him up with or something like that, or I think maybe put some water in the little boat so that he had a place to crawl and a place to keep wet, we might have done it. But I could tell that he was just going to perish. He was going to tire himself out. He was distressed right out there, you know. So I kept thinking about it, and oh, gee, I don't know. And when I turned my flashlight on him, he was hissing at me, you know, say, "Don't you come near me." You know, he wasn't giving up the ship at all. No, it's sure an oddity, but on the other hand, if I keep him, he's just going to be a dead oddity.
Yeah, makes sense.
And if it's so wonderful, maybe he'll just survive if I put him back in the water. So I did that. And I never really gave it much thought until I started to write into the whaling book here, and came across some stuff when I was whaling. Many times when we were down in the hold, weather was bad, we'd be doing up marling ropes or taking the harpoons and lashing them and doing all the little seaman sort of stuff that you do on a whaling ship. And keeping dry too, try to. The old mate, he's a wonderful old man, Finn John, he told us a story about the whale that they opened up, and it had this here funny looking creature in it. And that he says the newspapers were all up and took pictures of it. He said they thought it was a Cadboris or whatever. Well, I couldn't have known what that was at that time. Couldn't care less, I guess, in a sense. But the story stuck in my brain. And I kept thinking about it with this, and here when I went to write the story, if I didn't have come across the other one in the same amount of archival material that I was digging in for my material for my book.
Yes.
So then I thought, well, we better add it, because I got the other sort of sea oddities that are in there, you know, the awful large squids that mark the sperm whale with 18-inch rounds on their hide, so you know that's the size of the suckers off their tentacles, you know.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of funny things that we have learned. So I put it in, and it's raised a lot of comment, but it has brought up the point that this is not the first nor the last, and an awful lot of people have seen these things from time to time. I've often said, after going into this thing, that they're sort of the creature that always comes up when the world's all looking the other way. Yeah. At least the cameras are, anyway. Yeah. So that people are thunderstruck, and by the time they get everybody to look around, it's gone. And so I'd like to see us catch another one, or to see what's happened. And I do think that up around Pirates Cove there, up Ladies Channel, where it shallows out to False Narrow, that may be a very suitable breeding ground. It's muddy, the water moves slow through there, it's warm, it's sheltered. Yeah. Very shoal area, half a fathom in most places. So it could be a great incubator for these things. Maybe they're laid by egg, like the turtles do, and the mothers go away. Yeah. But I keep wondering if the mother might have been right around me. Yeah, watching what I was doing. Yeah. But that little creature wasn't worried about concerned when we come up to him. And he was heading into Pirates Cove. And Pirates Cove, near the top end of it, is sort of the same sort of bottom to it. It's muddy and what have you, and sloughy. So whether or not that was his home ground, or whether he was on his way down and just got caught into this little place, it's like a finger stick or a thumb sticking off a hand, this Pirates Cove. Mm-hmm. And he could have just been accidentally took the wrong turn and ended up by where we were. Yeah. But I do think that a person with better health, better patience than myself could get out there, that this would have to be seen again. Absolutely. If it was 75 or 78, something like that I seen this here, and the last one was seen in 1901 or something, hey, it's got to mean that a lot of people wouldn't see them because they had to be there. Yes. And this thing is fairly recent. This one was a new creature, a little fuzzy brown on the white, like fur on it, the scales on his back, the bright little eyes looking at you. And I mean, the eyes could turn in their sockets, the head could turn on its neck, and its neck wasn't terribly long, but it was up enough that it could have its shoulders under the water with its fins, and its head and neck would be above the water. So, you know, even on that small size, I think I should make a plasticine model of this thing, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Femo, yeah. They have these, something that you can actually make.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
Identifying any other sea creature, like a squid or anything like that. This was definitely something unique, something.
Well, I'd been getting for Dr. Big, like sea worms, that you could chop up into 4 pieces, and they'd have 4 sea worms. Mm-hmm. They'd start growing right away.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of little funny, strange things, you know. Yeah. And there's been lots of other people around that have had strange things that I have seen too, you know. So I mean, I haven't seen it all by any means. Sure. But we were dragging, and sometimes you'd drag the bottom too close. And I've had the net filled with sea cucumbers and all these strange things, especially up the coast in some of those areas. Some of the waters are pretty terrible down the bottom with what they've got in growth, you know. Yeah. And I tell you, the things you see crawling and going through there, octopuses and everything, that you do have an exposure. And this little sea creature that I've drawn here was quite a different thing. Yeah. I really feel that it should get some more research on it, but I won't have the health to do it or the wherewithal, but certainly other people could.